Ashe, and grand rising to you all, my beautiful people, my highly enriched melanin people, you the Earth's original and organic humans, aka my fellow Africans. It is I, the Mystic Philosopher. And yes, it is evident that I am still here with you on this side of reality. And welcome back to the Mystic P is talking again on the 15 with the, aka on the 15 with the Mystic Philosopher. This is episode 10. So now that you have a degree of knowledge and understanding of what this thing called stress is, today I will start talking about the impact or the effects that it has or that it is having on the phenomenon called the mind. In fact, my topic is the impact that stress has on the mind, or more correctly, the impact that this thing called stress has on the thing or the phenomenon that we call the mind. And no doubt some of you might be asking the question, Mystic, why do you say the phenomenon called the mind and not just the mind? And my answer is that from my perspective, there are more questions than answers about this thing that we call the mind. Some of the questions that I think that we have to ask ourselves and try to answer for ourselves are these. What is mind? Or what is the thing called the mind, aka what is our mind? Please note that I said that some of the questions that I think that we have to ask and try to answer for ourselves. Because most of us don't think for ourselves and have never been taught, and we are not being taught, let alone encouraged to think and find answers to life's questions for ourselves. The evidence shows that those that are in control of us and are governing and manipulating us don't want or intend for us to be independent thinkers or to think for ourselves. They are the ones that think for us and teach us and tell us what they want and what they intend for us to know. For example, this question, what is mind? To answer this question, we are taught and encouraged to go to those who tell us that they know. And they are the only ones that know. And that they are the only ones that know. And that whatever they say is so. And that we should not even attempt to question what they tell us, for to do so would mean and prove that we are fools. In other words, we can't know anything unless they are the ones that tell us. To quote the legendary Robert Nesta Marley from one of his songs called Ambush in the Night, and I quote, they say what we know is just what they teach us. And we are so ignorant because every time they can reach us, unquote. Let's think for a moment about this, my people. If you have or own a car and you don't know how to drive it, you don't know how to care for it and how to fix it or maintain it, you don't learn how to drive it and you are not learning how to drive it, and every time you need to use it, even if you are having an emergency, you have to wait, beg, or pay someone else to use it for you, then ask yourself, what is the purpose of you having or claiming to have a car? From my perspective, this same analogy is applicable to us having a mind, or the thing called mind. So let me now read 2 quotes for you as to how some of the systems trained and systems approved and systems authorities, aka the systems scientists, answer this question, what is the mind? And I quote, the mind is a set of faculties including cognitive aspects such as consciousness, imagination, perception, thinking, intelligence, judgment, language, and memory. as well as non-cognitive aspects such as emotions and instinct, unquote. That is from Wikipedia. Another quote, what exactly is the mind? And I quote, traditionally, scientists have tried to define the mind as the product of the brain activity. The brain is a physical substance and the mind is the conscious product of those firing neurons, according to the classic argument. But growing evidence shows that the mind goes far beyond the physical workings of your brain. And that is, unquote, that is from the Google search dictionary. More on that later. Now, as mentioned before, we subjects are not supposed to question this or even have our own opinions, let alone our own thoughts about any of this, because the gods have spoken. And does that really answer all the questions that most of us thinking people have about this thing called mind, or this thing called the mind, aka our mind? I, the Mystic Philosopher, don't think so. In other words, I am not satisfied with those two answers, as at least not yet. What is mind? Or what is the thing called the mind, aka our mind? We hear people say so many things about mind that most of us are led to believe that a question like this is easy to answer, or that it should be very easy to answer. We hear people talk about other people being bad mind, having corrupt mind, or corrupt minds, sick minds, perverted minds, stressed out minds, having no mind, you name it. But what is mind? Have any of you, my listeners, ever seriously thought about and asked yourself this question? What is mind? What does it look like? What does mind look like? Do we know the mind and what it is? Can we really and truly know this thing called the mind? And where is the mind? How do I know for sure that I have one? How do I know that I exist without this thing called the mind, my mind? And can I know that I exist without mind or my mind? What do I know? And what can I know about the mind, my mind, the world, or anything else for that matter, without mind? Without my mind having to tell me? Is the mind a separate entity from I, as in me, myself, and I? Now I know some of you might be saying right now, Lord have mercy. This time the Mystic Philosopher has surely lost his mind. And that I must admit might be true. However, the only way to prove to me that you are correct and that I have really lost my mind, and that is if I had one, is if you can show me yours and tell me where yours is located and where you or I can or may find mine. How can I locate this thing called the mind? Or can I or anyone else really locate the mind? Is the brain the same as that which we call the mind? Or is the brain located in the mind? Or is the mind located in the brain? Which is it? For example, 3 of my favorite country and western songs that I grew up with and love to listen to and sing along with sometimes are You Are Always on My Mind. One, You Are Always on My Mind by Willie Nelson. The other is Gentle on My Mind by Glenn Campbell. And third, I Can't Get You Off My Mind by Patti Loveless. And just to quote a verse from Patti Loveless' song, she said, well, I can't get you off my mind. When I try, I'm just wasting my time. Well, I tried, and I've tried. All night long I've cried, but I can't get you off my mind. Unquote. Is on your mind the same as in your mind? For if I know where mind is, and I know for sure that you are, or someone or something else is on it, then I can or I may easily push you off or get rid of you or get rid of it. But if you are in my mind, then I think that my mind is telling me that it will be much more difficult to get rid of you. Don't you think? Am I in the mind or is the mind in I? Where in the world is mind? What can I know without the mind? And what can we know without the mind? Another example that I think of, that I have been thinking about, at least so I think, is when I hear people say, I have changed my mind, or he or she has changed his or her mind. And even when I say that, I've changed my mind, and even I say that I've changed my mind from time to time, can I, or can we really and truly change our mind, or change the mind? And if our mind or the mind is in our head or in our hearts, and if we have a change of head or a change of heart, as in a heart transplant or a head transplant, does it mean that we change our mind as well? And if we change our mind, will we be the same person, or will we be the same human? Are we in control of the mind, or is it the mind that is in control of us? And if we are to claim that we are in control of that which we call the mind, then how comes we don't have and even have and can't have definitive answers to all the aforementioned questions? And if this thing called the mind, or our mind, is defective, then how can we fix or repair it if we don't honestly know the answers to any, if not all, of these questions? And finally, for now, if the mind is spiritual, abstract, beyond the physical, aka the metaphysical realm, etc., how can physical man or physical woman in the physical or material world, determine if or when the mind, is defective? And how can they, by using physical medication, physical medicine, physical drugs, fix the mind's problems? Example of problems such as mental issues and stress, etc. These are just few of these of the questions that I will leave you to ponder today. So please join me if or when next I am talking again, possible tomorrow, where and when I will be picking up from where I'm leaving off right now, talking and focusing on stress on the mind, or more correctly, the impact that this thing called stress has on the thing that we call mind. And just to remember, my brethren, my people, yesterday is history. It too is dead and gone. No more to come back. Tomorrow is a mystery. It too may never come, but today is a gift, which is why we called it the present day. And so I hereby implore you to live for today and hope for tomorrow. I am the Mystic Philosopher. Ashe, 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 I say.